I always thought the 3 words that ended my marriage would be, "I want a divorce." I was wrong. It wasn't 3 words. It was a single 8-digit password. Looking back, I can still see the exact moment my life shattered. It wasn't a bomb, or an earthquake, or a letter. It was the glow of a laptop screen in the dark, the faint hum of the fan, and 8 characters I never should have typed. I've often wondered if ignorance truly is bliss. Now, I know the answer. When the truth is a weapon, yes, it is. For 10 years, Mark and I built a fortress of a life. It was the kind of marriage people envied, quietly, respectfully, deeply happy. We had the cozy 2-story house in the suburbs with the wraparound porch, 2 golden retrievers, and a comfortable rhythm that felt like the best kind of predictability. Mark was an architect, I was a librarian. We were practical, grounded, and intensely loyal to one another. Our rituals were simple and sacred. Sunday morning coffee on the porch, Friday night takeout in a bad movie, and every evening, that moment when he'd come home, drop his briefcase, and I'd know, just by the weight of his step, that he was home and the world was safe. We shared everything: finances, hopes, fears, the crushing grief of a pregnancy we lost early on. Everything, that is, except for one thing: his work laptop. It sat on his home office desk, a sleek silver shell, always closed, always dark. It was the only part of our house and our life that felt truly separate. For years, I respected that boundary. It was work after all. His privacy was his own. That was the foundation of our trust. I truly believed our bond was unbreakable, forged by shared loss and celebrated triumphs. That belief, that bedrock of absolute trust, is what made the following months so devastating. The cracks started small, nearly invisible, like hairline fractures in the plaster you ignore until the whole wall begins to crumble. It started roughly 10 months ago. Mark was always busy, but suddenly he was consumed. The late nights started subtly. "Big project, Kate," he'd say, kissing me quickly on the cheek. "The clients are demanding." At first, I was supportive. I'd leave dinner in the oven and a beer on his desk. But the big project never seemed to end. The hour he walked through the door shifted from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., then 9:30 p.m., then occasionally 11 p.m. He was there, but he wasn't present. He'd sit on the couch next to me, but his fingers were constantly scrolling on his phone. If I leaned over to look, he'd subtly angle the screen away, a habit I'd never seen before. It was fast, reflexive, almost defensive. "What is it?" I finally asked one night, after noticing the light flicker away from me for the 3rd time in as many minutes. He didn't look up. "Just work emails, Kate. They're blowing up my inbox." "At 10:30 on a Tuesday? Can't it wait?" He sighed, a deep, weary sound that felt less like exhaustion and more like irritation. "This is how the business works, honey. It's high stakes right now." That night, I didn't sleep well. It wasn't the late nights or the scrolling that worried me. It was the distance. The way his eyes looked hollow, the way he stopped asking me about my day, the way his laughter had become brittle. It was like he'd built a silent, invisible wall right down the middle of our king-size bed. The physical boundaries became sharper too. The work laptop, which previously just sat closed, was now always in his line of sight, often tucked under a throw blanket when he was in the living room, or moved from his desk to the floor when he was making a call. One afternoon, while straightening his office, I noticed something new. He'd installed a digital lock on the top drawer of his filing cabinet. It wasn't that we didn't have locks. We had keys to the house and the shed, but this was different. It was a clear, calculated barrier to me. I remember standing there, my hand hovering over the smooth, plastic surface of the lock, my heart starting to flutter with a cold, metallic fear. Why? Why the sudden need for a locked drawer? Was he storing client documents, expensive equipment, or something else? I tried to shake it off. I told myself I was being paranoid, a typical stressed wife, but the nagging doubt had teeth, and they were starting to bite. The suspicion didn't leave. It metastasized into an obsession. I wasn't just observing Mark. I was scrutinizing him. Every hesitation, every dropped sentence, every unusual expense became a data point in my growing case against him. I started keeping mental tabs. He used to take the retrievers out every Saturday morning without fail. Now he suddenly had Saturday morning meetings, usually remote calls, that he took in his office, door closed. I'd hear his voice, low and urgent, but I could never make out the words. Then came the financial clue. As the family bookkeeper, I handle the majority of the monthly bills. Our joint checking account was always solid, but one month I noticed a transfer. It was a large amount, $5,000, labeled only as consulting fee and sent to an unknown bank account. I asked him about it casually over dinner. "Mark, what was the $5,000 consulting fee this month?" His fork clattered against his plate. It was the first time I'd seen him look truly panicked. The mask slipped. "Oh, that," he stammered, his eyes darting. "That was for a specialist, a structural engineer, for the Riverstone project. Needed a second opinion. They required payment up front." "But I've never seen a firm charge that way," I pressed, instantly regretting the intensity of my tone. "And why did you use the joint account instead of the business account?" He recovered quickly, his voice hardening into the defensive, weary-toned I'd become familiar with. "Just trust me, Kate." That was his constant refrain. And every time he said it, my trust eroded a little more. Because trust doesn't require a plea, it just is. My focus narrowed to the one place the truth must be hidden, his work laptop. I realized that whatever Mark was doing, it was digital, hidden behind the silver shell of that machine. I knew I couldn't ask him for the password. The confrontation would be premature, and he would only lie better. I needed proof. Ironclad, devastating proof. I started by trying all the obvious combinations, the digital keys to the life he was showing me. I tried our anniversary date. No. I tried the dog's birthdays. No. I tried his mother's maiden name. No. I tried a variation of "Love Kate." Laughably, no. I sat on the floor of his office late one night, the hallway shadow of the laptop mocking me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I felt like a criminal, my moral compass spinning wildly. The weight of invading his privacy warred with the primal, aching need to know if the man I loved was a lie. The need to know. It always does. I spent weeks observing his patterns, where he looked when you was stressed, what dates he mentioned in passing. Nothing. The password was a...
Then, one rainy Thursday, I was watching him try to troubleshoot something on his old phone. He was muttering to himself, frustrated, and he typed a 4-digit code onto the screen. It was so fast, but the number stuck in my head. 0701. I knew what it was. It was the month and day of our miscarriage, the loss of our daughter, Lily. It was a date we never spoke about, a wound we only shared in silence. It felt like a punch to the stomach. Why would he use that pain, that shared silent tragedy, as a key to his secrets? It was the most intimate, most vulnerable thing we had. It felt less like a code and more like a cruel taunt. Later that night, Mark was out at an obligatory client dinner. I walked into his dark office, my hands clammy, my whole body shaking with cold resolve. I reached for the laptop. I sat down at the desk. The keyboard was cool under my fingers. The screen prompted me. Enter password. I typed the full date of our loss, adding the year for the 8-digit combination. 07/01/2015. I hit enter. There was a moment of silence. The icon spun. My breath caught in my throat. Then the screen blinked. Welcome, Mark. The silence of the house became deafening. It wasn't just a password, it was the truth. He used our shared, deepest trauma as a shield to protect his separate life, a life I wasn't privy to. I didn't cry. The tears were frozen solid inside me, leaving only a white-hot core of pure, surgical clarity. I didn't head straight for the browser or the search history. I went straight to the heart of the matter, his email, his work inbox. And that's when I saw it. The entire landscape of our life, the fortress Mark and I had built, was not just cracked, it was a mirage. The first email subject line, urgent, $450K outstanding payment, the Cayman Fund. I clicked it. It wasn't about a structural engineer or a client. It was from a series of high-pressure, intimidating emails with a group I'd never heard of. It wasn't an affair. It was far, far worse. The emails detailed years of increasingly risky, unauthorized insider trading Mark had been involved in. He had used his architectural knowledge, which clients were buying land, which projects were about to be approved, to make quick, illegal stock gains. It was all tied to a shadowy, aggressive investment fund run by people whose language in the emails was chillingly direct, talking about consequences and exposure. He wasn't covering a late project, he was covering a catastrophic loss. The $5,000 transfer I had questioned, that was a monthly payment to a consultant whose email address had only 5 letters, Legal. Mark hadn't been working late. He had been meeting with lawyers desperate to keep the lid on a fraud case that could ruin him professionally and legally. The late nights were spent shredding documents and transferring funds from shell accounts. The distance wasn't about another woman. It was the isolation of a man drowning in a web of his own illegal making. I scrolled further. There were copies of signed documents, one of which was a second mortgage on our house, a secret mortgage he had taken out without my signature or knowledge, using a forged power of attorney, desperate to inject cash into the collapsing scheme. That was where the $450,000 debt had come from. My head spun. He hadn't just broken my heart, he had put our entire existence, our financial security, our home, and his freedom at risk. He'd signed away our future for a desperate, illegal gamble. I felt a violent nausea rise in my throat. I stood up, stumbling, needing air. The reality was so massive, so ugly, it was impossible to contain. I didn't have time for tears or shock. I was operating purely on adrenaline. I had to expose this. I had to save us, or what was left of us. I quickly copied all the incriminating emails and documents into a folder, compressing them into a single encrypted file, and uploaded it to my own cloud drive. I was preparing for war. I didn't have to wait long. Mark came home around 12:45 a.m. He looked tired, pale, and defeated, smelling faintly of stale air and cheap whiskey, not the fine scotch he usually drank. He saw me immediately. I was standing in the dark living room, arms crossed, bathed only in the blue light spilling from his open office door. The laptop screen was still lit, a beacon of truth in the darkness. He stopped in his tracks. His briefcase slipped from his grip and hit the hardwood floor with a hollow thud. "Kate," he whispered. It wasn't a question, but an acknowledgement of his doom. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't scream. My voice was low, steady, and sharp as broken glass. "Tell me about the Riverstone structural engineer, Mark." He opened his mouth and then closed it. His eyes darted to the laptop, then back to me. He knew. "I need you to tell me about the $450,000 second mortgage on our home, and I need you to tell me about the Cayman Fund." Mark deflated completely. His shoulders slumped. He looked like a statue, suddenly relieved of its own weight. The exhaustion was real now, bone deep. "Kate, please, let me explain," he pleaded, his voice cracking. He took a hesitant step towards me. "Explain what? Explain how you forged my signature? How you gambled away our house? How you risked prison and left me to discover it via the password you chose? A password that reminds you every day of the only thing we couldn't save?" I spat out the last sentence, feeling the dam of emotion finally break. He didn't defend the crime. He defended the intent. I did it for us. A few years ago, my firm was failing. I had a massive debt from my father, and I couldn't tell you. I was panicked. I thought I could make a quick, clean profit, enough to pay it all off, and then we'd be free. I thought I could put it back before you ever knew. It was supposed to save us, Kate, not destroy us. "Save us?" I scoffed, taking a step back. "You stole our stability, Mark. You stole my trust. You stole my sanity. What you did was a betrayal that goes beyond any affair. You turned our home into a criminal operation." We were standing inches apart, whispering in a volume that belied the monumental destruction of the moment. He reached for my hand. "I know. I'm so sorry. I've been trying to cover it for months. I have a meeting tomorrow. I'm going to tell them I'm out. I can still limit the damage, Kate. Please, just give me a chance. Let's talk to the lawyer together." "There is no us anymore, Mark," I said, pulling my hand away. My voice was devoid of feeling. "There is only the wreckage you made. I want you out. Tonight."
He backed away, his face a mask of desperation and panic. "Don't do this, Kate. Don't throw this away. I can fix this. You don't understand how deep this is. If I walk away now, they'll know everything. I'll lose everything." "You lost everything the minute you typed that password, Mark," I retorted. The confrontation had reached a fever pitch. He was terrified. I was incandescent with rage. In the heat of the moment, I pointed wildly toward the laptop. "I have everything copied. Every email, every transfer, every detail of your illegal scheme is backed up. You'll never lie your way out of this. It's over, Mark." He lunged for the laptop, not to shut it off, but to grab the physical hard drive. He was going to destroy the evidence. My reaction was purely defensive. I grabbed the screen and yanked it toward me. In the ensuing chaotic scuffle, a tray of documents, Mark's last desperate attempt at organizing his case, slid off the desk and scattered across the floor. As he grabbed the laptop screen, trying to wrestle it from my grasp, his foot slipped on a crumpled piece of paper. Mark stumbled backward, losing his balance completely. He didn't hit the wall, he didn't hit the couch. Right behind him, against the window, was the old, heavy brass floor lamp we'd bought on our first anniversary. As he went down, his head struck the lamp base with a sickening, wet crack. The lamp crashed to the floor. Mark didn't make a sound. He lay still, his eyes unfocused and wide, staring at the ceiling. A dark, rapidly blooming stain spread across the carpet beneath his head. I froze. The rage drained out of me, replaced by an icy, paralyzing horror. The sound, the unnatural stillness, it was instantly, horribly clear. I dropped the laptop. It clattered beside his body. The betrayal, the fraud, the second mortgage, it all vanished. There was only the crimson stain on the carpet and the terrible, irreversible finality of silence. I didn't check for a pulse. I didn't need to. I knew. The fight was over. The marriage was over. The man who had been my life was gone, lying at the feet of the machine that held his secret. I was the one who called the police. I was the one who had to explain the chaos, the late hour, the fight over a laptop. I told them about the argument, omitting the financial details until my lawyer arrived. The medical report was grim. Blunt force trauma. Instantaneous. The tragic twist wasn't just his death. It was that I had caused it. Not by murder, but by the relentless, necessary pursuit of a truth he desperately tried to hide.
He died trying to keep his secret contained, and in that desperate attempt, he inadvertently destroyed himself. In the weeks that followed, the police investigation confirmed it was an accident, a domestic argument gone wrong, a slip, a terrible consequence of panic. But I knew the truth was far colder and more nuanced. The password had killed him. Mark's death exposed everything anyway. The mortgage, the fraud, the massive debt, the forged documents. The authorities found the evidence I had copied and uploaded. The full scale of the scheme was laid bare. Mark was ruined, and so were we. The house was eventually lost to the bank. I was left with a reputation sullied by association, a pile of legal paperwork that took years to untangle, and the deep, silent shame of having been married to a ghost. I ended up selling most of my belongings and moving to a tiny apartment downtown. I'm still a librarian. I still drink coffee on Sunday mornings, only now I drink it alone. The real tragedy wasn't the loss of the money, or even the loss of Mark. It was the crushing realization that the man I had trusted implicitly, the man who had been my rock, had been a careful, calculated liar for years, driven by a fear he never shared with me. He built our life on a foundation of sand, and when I finally pushed against it, the whole thing collapsed, taking him with it. Now, whenever I have to create a password for anything, a bank account, an email, a simple subscription, I pause. I don't use birthdays or anniversaries or pet names. I use a random string of numbers and letters, cold and impersonal. Because I know now that the most dangerous secrets aren't hidden behind a complex code. They are hidden behind the simplest, most intimate, and most painful truth you share with the person you love. The password that ended my marriage wasn't just 07012015. It was the date of a loss that became the key to a second, far greater loss. The loss of everything, including him. And I was the one who turned the key.